Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast. I'm your host, Sam Tate, aka Ace Maneuvers, and I am joined by three wonderful people and three excellent players, might I add, in Andrew Holder, Zach Pasley, and Travis T. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to pronounce your whole name.
It's fine, that's fine.
Fellas, first, real quick, as always, I want to give you a quick chance to shout out anybody that you need to, any sponsorships that you have. I'm going to start with you, Andrew. Is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to at the start of the hour?
Unfunstuff.com, code GOBEYOND, save 5% on your order of the My Hero Academia collectible card game, sealed product, and singles. That's unfunstuff.com, code GOBEYOND to save 5% off your order. There you go.
This man was ready. Zach, do you have anyone that you would like to shout out real quick? Anything you want to plug?
No, not really.
Okay.
Nobody sponsors me. I'm not special.
Fair enough. Travis, any shout outs, any sponsorships you need to announce real quick?
So like Andrew said, unfunstuff.com. I don't have a sponsorship code yet, but I'm
code
sure
GOBEYOND.
Yeah, code GOBEYOND Gaming. And TCGU as well on YouTube. My personal YouTube, Oh Mr. Matsu, and my Twitch, Yo It's Matsu.
Awesome. So there you have it, everyone. That's where you can find these guys. That's where their sponsorships lie. If you are not familiar with our guest today, this is the Contenders Roundtable podcast, meaning that all of our gentlemen here played in grand finals and got second place at a regional event recently. And I wanted to give them a chance to talk about their experiences, talk about the choices they made going into those formats leading up to those tournaments, and what it was like to play at top tables on stream. Now that we have the excellent coverage for our game at these competitive events, it can be a little different when you know that everyone's going to be able to see these plays later. So I know that we're going to have an awesome podcast for you tonight, and I want you guys to get a little more familiar with our players. We are card gamers here, right? And we all love different card games, and I wanted to give you guys a chance to talk about your favorite card from any card game. Travis, start us off. What's your favorite card that you've ever played?
It's really hard to say, but I think it has to go to Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I love drawing cards, I love having perfect information, and I love messing with my opponent, so that card does all three of those things.
And it does them very well. I didn't really play any real Magic for any length of time until right after the Jace ban, so I've never cast a Jace myself.
Yeah.
It must be a feeling of power.
Oh, it certainly is. Slamming Jace into a simplified board state it's like a feeling unlike any other, for sure.
Awesome. Zach, any particular cards that stick out? Any singular favorite card that you have?
Yeah, so my first card game that I took seriously was the Final Fantasy card game, and I loved the set 2 Golbez card.
Okay.
Without going way too much in the deal about how the game works, it's basically kind of like an Exodia type of deal, but you want all the stuff to be in your discard pile instead of playing everything, so you can get him out for free. Oh. I pretty much took every single archetype that existed for that game and tried to figure out how to get that package to work for it.
Oh yeah, the
Archfiend. There's 2 or 3 times where it actually did work.
Gotcha.
It only needs to work once to be valid.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
I'm a huge fan of alternate win conditions, and so that was actually one of the only few decks I looked at for that card game because I didn't really want to learn the combat system. And same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! I would always just pick up a Popper Exodia deck and just try to snake a couple wins out of locals every now and then. Andrew, do you have a favorite card? I know you've played a bunch of different card games out there.
It's tough for me to choose one, but I think I would get called a liar by people who might watch this or are watching now if I didn't say Birthing Pod from Magic the Gathering. Yeah. I have basically said that I want Birthing Pod to be a card in Universus. For those who haven't played Magic or didn't play back then, because the card is banned in the only format it's viable in. Birthing Pod is an artifact, so similar to an asset from Universus. where you can pay mana or mana and life, and then sacrifice a creature you control to search your library for a creature that costs one more than that creature and put it into play. There are like a ton of like infinite combos you can do in Magic with this. I actually mostly like the card when you're using it as like a Dirtle value engine, where you just like go get cool like a creature that makes a token, and then you sacrifice the creature to go get another creature who might bring back the creature who made a token. And then you might bring a creature in that untaps your birthing pod, so you can go up from like a second time. So birthing pod's my favorite. If I had to pick a single card, it's birthing pod.
So what you're telling me is to never play Commander with you, because you're not going to just win the game when you put down birthing pod. You're going to make us sit there and watch you tutor your whole deck.
You're going to watch me just do the
birthing pod.
I'm not going to try and like Kiki Jiki Restoration Angel you. I am just going to try and put out my Thragtusk. I'm going to gain 5 life. I'm going to sacrifice my Thragtusk to make a token and go get a Sun Titan. And my Sun Titan's going to bring back a Blade Splicer and make another token. It's going to be great.
Wonderful. Well, Birthing Pod is one of the more iconic cards from Magic. It is one of my least favorite cards to see, only because like when I play it, I want people to just scoop. I've played a Birthing Pod like a few times, and I just want people to scoop, because usually I'm not familiar enough with the deck I'm playing. I like borrowed it, and I'm like, I don't want to actually go search for stuff. So I'm hoping people just see it and go, oh, that's a win condition, we're done here. So now we know a little bit more about everybody. Let's talk about our game. Let's talk about Universes / the My Hero Academia card game, and specifically the decks that you guys played at these events. I'm going to start with Zach, because chronologically your event was the first that happened, and it was notably the first event, like the first major event, I guess you could say, of set 2. So was there any specific choices that made you select May?
Okay, so me just being interested in May in the first place, I've made a couple of memes about this. It legitimately just started as I thought Box Full of Babies was a funny card name, and I like that playing the deck means that I have to say that like 5 times at least a turn. That was really the start of it. I just thought it was funny to play the deck. And then when I was practicing with it, I was surprised to find out that it actually was killing people. For like all of set 1, I was trying to play like whatever was like going to be the strongest deck. Like I played Kirishima up until the errata. Then I was trying All Might, just kind of like net decking whatever was the like big deck of like the last tournament. And I don't think I even made, I think like 40th place was probably like the best that I did in any of the provisionals before. I didn't really do that great in any of the webcam ones. So I just kind of was tired of like not playing something that I was enjoying and just trying to like play like the best. So I just wanted to play something that I thought would be a fun deck. And then as I was testing it, I was finding out like, oh, maybe this is actually way better than I thought it was going to be. Because like, if you don't kill me on turn 3, I'm probably going to come with a huge backswing that you can't handle. And it ended up happening enough times in a row.
Did you see other Mei Hatsumi lists? Was there a lot of iterations between, like, her 2 most popular symbols are all in life. Mm-hmm. And we saw a lot of the life Mei, but I believe you were the only all Mei Hatsumi I saw all weekend. What made you choose the all symbol?
So the main thing was I wanted to play Unwavering Slash. That card is ridiculous in her. For the most part, you don't ever want to play an attack on turn 2 with her, because like it's just not going to be worth it. That is the one exception, though, because you'll just get enough advantage. Like, I don't even care if you block it or not. I'm just drawing more cards than I'm playing at that point. The deck itself, it originally started from me just copying a list that Broberg came out with. The main thing I didn't like with what he had with it, though, was that it wasn't playing that many assets. I think besides the Box of Babies, he only had like 2 copies of Quick Creation or something. Mm-hmm. I wanted Unwavering Slashes Enhanced to get an asset to be live every single time I played it. So without playing more than 1 copy of Earphone Jack or the Compressed Weights, I just played the maximum number of assets that you could play in the deck.
Interesting.
Because that was kind of just a like I was mainly concerned about that, about the unwavering slash, but then I had so many times where I was actually getting like 8 or 9 of these things out at one time, and now all of a sudden, yeah, these are like 3 or 4 speed attacks, but if you don't perfect block every single one of them, it only takes 2 of them to kill you.
Yeah, that's effectively hitting critical mass, right? Like the damage pump from Mei Hatsumi scaling effectively every turn, and Unwavering Slash definitely ramps that up. I'm going to jump it over to Andrew. Andrew, you played Fourth Kind at the Origins event. Had you had any prior experience playing Fourth Kind in a competitive environment, and did you think it was specifically suited for that event?
So the answer is before Origins, no. When the card got revealed, I remember messaging my group chat, like our locals group chat. I think everyone has a locals group chat probably, and just being like, yo, I think this character's broken. And then I never built him. I just was like, I think this character is actually insane. And I just never built him. I was more focused on building characters that weren't in the Plus Ultra pack. When we got to Origins, and Travis actually could attest to this, I showed up to Origins. I got off a plane from Las Vegas, got in my car, drove to Origins. We were late leaving. I didn't get in till 7 in the morning. And then the first event for Origins started at 10 a.m. So I just didn't sleep. A buddy of mine was like, well, I have Fourth Kind built. Do you want to play it? And I was like, sure. And it was like an updated take on JP Johnson's list that had just top 16 Las Vegas. And I played him in the provisional, and on no sleep, I was like, man, this deck's so good. Like I was just beating people who were like playing better than me, but like one thing would go wrong for them and I would go, oh, you're dead. Like
right.
Travis and I played because the first provisional was single elim.
Yep.
And Travis and I played, and if I don't make a mistake, I think Travis and I both figured out that like, he died. Like I just made a sleep deprived mistake, and he ended up winning the match 2-1 in game. It was happening in game 3.
Right.
And the next day I was going to play something different, and I just went to bed and didn't build a deck, so I just played Fourth Kind again. And then the next day I was going to play something different, but I went to bed and didn't build a deck, and I just decided to play Fourth Kind again.
I'm noticing a pattern, Andrew.
Yeah, and then for the regional, I've played more games of Fourth Kind than any other character in this format because I've been jumping from deck so much. I'll just register Fourth Kind, but I wanted to make some changes from the list I had been playing all week because like I didn't like a few things, and I had identified that the format was going to be full of 7 health or 7 hand size 20 health characters who spam high attacks, and I wanted to like play a character who had enough health to live through those and also could do like funny things with like Cinder Convection was the one I chose. In retrospect, it should have been Eat My Sticky Balls, but it was Cinder Convection at the event. Yeah. And I was like, you can block 2 Frog Lashings, right? Like they're only going to be 4 to 6 speed. If you have a +1 high block that you get to use twice, you just can't die to that card. And I played against a bunch of Frog Lashings all day. I beat all of the Frog Lashing decks. In Top Cut, I played against a Frog Lashing deck in round 1, which was Phil Birch on Toga. Was like Frog Lashing with Tongue Whip, so it was a little bit scarier. I played against Tokoyami, which is high attack of the deck, right? It's all Dark Shadow Ruins and things until they hit you with the Ice Storm. And then in finals, I played against the Racerhead, which isn't really a high attack deck. So like, but he was that 20 health, 7 hand size character that you can just kill with 3 attacks. And so I thought that a character that could do that would be really strong for Origins.
Yeah. One of the things I heard a lot when it was seeing early success was people saying things like, well, how does it kill people, right? Like, how is this deck winning? And, you know, we've talked about this on podcasts before. It jumps on the first mistake you make. The first time your deck lets you down, Fourth Kind is just going to open you up because either you don't have the foundations to block, you know, you stopped playing cards at a certain point, or you've unlocked his once per game. And then, you know, it's pretty trivial from there. He just has to be able to count at that point. So, did you think that it was really up to your opponent to make mistakes, or did you think that Fourth Kind could control the game if your opponent didn't have a huge health pool to play around with?
I think the list that I played at Origins was primarily situated to play against low health, high hand size characters. You were really leveraging like just moves that if you half block them took half your life total. Okay. It was like indiscriminate shocks, and even stuff like Electric Jolt when you play it as your 4th card and you EX it twice does 8 damage. That's, you know, 40% of a 20 health character's life total. The whole goal was like, I'm going to play these big attacks. If you don't have the perfect block, it's going to kill you. Moving forward, I think the list that came out from the provisional after playing like Reciprocal Acceleration Kick, that one can play a long game, because I played a similar list in Orlando, and I had several games where I was like heavy into Deadlock. I was like 15 to 18 foundations. Wow. I would block everything until I drew the hand that I was like, you can't beat this hand. So
interesting. Yeah, I love the iterations. I am paralyzed when it comes to trying to play a deck a second time. It feels like a missed opportunity to play something new. So it's really cool to see the decks actually evolve and be iterated on. Do you think you're going to play fourth kind going forward?
I'm a little nervous. So the list that I've been playing, main boards, Blood Curdle, and One for All Full Cowling 5% Strike, the secret rare from set 1. And I think I think at Gen Con it's going to be a lot of Kirishima 2, and I think playing those cards will help you beat the average Kirishima 2 player. But like if you run up into Jacob Johnson playing Kirishima 2, or you run into Andrew Doval, just for the people who topped the most recent one, you're going to have a harder time. Now, granted, like when I played Jacob at the event, we both came to the conclusion that if I draw Blood Curdle a single time, he dies. So I think if you're willing to main Blood Curdle and you're willing to main full cowling, it's actually fine. And I think he has a really good spot moving forward, because his matchups haven't changed except Kirishima 2 exists, and you have to respect that deck. So
okay, let's move on to Travis. Travis, you of course had our most recent regional event, played Asui 1, a character that is the hot topic on a lot of people's minds. You know, her attacks, her frog lashing on the tip of a lot of people's tongue. And this might seem like a silly question, but what made you choose Asui going into the Orlando regional, and specifically the water symbol?
So the reason I picked Asui was because it was a comfort pick. So to put it in perspective, when I first started like transitioning into MHA from the previous version of the card game, Universes, UFS, whatever you want to call it, I started with All Might 1, just trying to one-shot people with Detroit Smash, and then after Plus Ultra released, I was like, okay, this character is unplayable now. Now I'm going to try Asui. And then I grinded Asui for the longest while. The first provisional I played in, I played Sero siding into Asui because I like Sero as a character. So I actually had a lot of reps on the deck, and that was like one of the major things that went into like my decision making. And obviously I got third with it at Origins, so like if it's not broke, don't fix it. And that's just kind of why I played it in Orlando. Obviously with some like minor changes, some meta calls that I thought would be very good, like Drowning in Resentment. I think that card's very good in our meta right now. A lot of people playing Unwavering / decks.
Yeah, I want to talk about, speaking of Unwavering / the choice not to play Sports Festival Stadium. You know, people have almost talked about it as like the power creep cash grab of the provisional promos, and, you know, certainly showing up in our meta. But you had talked to me and Andrew at the event about your choice not to run it. Tell the people, tell the viewers, what was your take on Sports Festival in Asui?
So, here's the thing. That card is actually a brick if you're going second, because you never, ever, ever want to hard build that card going second as a 20 health character, because it just says, hey, come kill me, opponent. I built this card instead of a foundation that helps me live and win the game. Come kill me. Mm-hmm. And, like, if you're going second as Asui, your game plan should not be to try and destroy them on 2 unless they make a mistake. If they overcommit, they attack you one too many times, then you can kill them. But other than that, if you're playing Asui and you're going second, you should be planning to kill them on turn 3 with almost no counterplay every single game. That's just what you should look to do, because it's so much easier. If you're on 10 foundations, you don't have to worry about Face Shield. That card doesn't do anything to you when you're at 10 foundations. It's +1 progressive difficulty, who cares? You're still playing on 5s and 6s the entire turn. And in that case, you also don't need Sports Festival, because that's like the main thing that card is for, is that and Breaker. Because you don't really care about Breaker if you don't care about Faith Shield.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't think that card's very good in her specifically.
Yeah, and with your version, you are running the Crow and Frog takedown, which, in my opinion, makes the Faith Shield less relevant too. Because a lot of people will legitimately misplay a Faith Shield into Crow and Frog, believing that it will count towards progressive later, right? Like that it will start to count towards progressive difficulty.
Yep. And a lot of people don't know about that ruling.
It's usually 2 or 3 attacks into it where they get to try and Faith Shield you, and by that point you're getting speed and all this other stuff. So I will wholeheartedly agree. Playing the Unwavering / Sports Festival package, I hard casted it. I played it as a form only if I went first and only if I had no other option for a 2-diff.
I'll chime in real quick. I know this is Travis's bit, but we were talking about it the night before, and I was like, man, I think that card's almost unplayable if you can't Unwavering / it into play.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to play it, it's bad.
It's pretty abrasive.
Yeah, it seems strange to me, because the idea, especially if you're like a wall clean deck and you have this great defense, it doesn't seem like it would hurt you that badly, and yet there was so many times in testing, not just playing the air danky aggro version, but playing like death defensive decks and water defensive decks, where my testing partner would tell me, man, your asset just killed you again. And that's when it sort of pinged where I was like, man, I could just go back to the dinky that had Unwavering / and never play it as a form. And so, so I really think that that's true right now. Like, you should not be playing that card as a form unless you're going to kill your opponent absolutely turn 2. Or, like put it in your deck if you can Unwavering it. Let's move on to the next topic. So we talked about how you guys came around to the choices, but any notable matchups? I'll kick it back to Travis since we were just talking.
Gotcha.
Any notable matchups from your run in Orlando?
So something that I noticed was if I sided into Toru, because I had Flash Girl on my sideboard, if I sided into her against Ochako 2, they could not play the game.
Okay.
That matchup was like 90-10 in my favor if I sided into Toru, and they didn't side into a Racerhead or something.
Mm-hmm.
I also figured out that there were a lot of matchups where Crow and Frog was just actually a bad card. So that card is just like out of the deck now. I will not be playing it at Gen Con. Specifically against like Kirishima 2, because I don't really care if they face shield me. I'm just trying to draw enough damage to kill them, and Crow and Frog doesn't do damage on its own. You have to see creepy in order for it to actually do like a real amount of damage.
Okay. I valued it for Irrefutable. Like in the Irrefutable matchups, I actually did like it, but as far as like an aggressive, attack tool, it was just a utility, right?
Yep. Which, honestly, the water symbol doesn't need that utility. The life symbol does. I will say that 100% for Asui. But the water symbol does not need that utility. We already have Frog kicked already, Irrefutable if we need it, and stuff like that.
True. Zach, is there any noteworthy matchup that you remember from your run back in Vegas? Any particularly easy matchups that you had throughout the day?
Pretty much anybody that was not threatening me on turn 2 was my biggest ones. As long as I can make it to turn 3, okay, I would. I would be pretty consistent at just like having a giant hand, doing whatever I needed to survive on like 1 or 2 health. I had a lot of people that they were forgetting that I had Quick Create out, and they weren't accounting for that in their math, so they would have me exactly lethal. I'd Quick Create, so it's lethal -2, and then I would just come back on the very next turn and wallop them while they had a completely committed stage. Yeah, pretty much anybody that plays a slow game, that's the game I want to play too, and I play it better than them. The one that was during the top cuts, there was this whole big thing where I guess somehow the pairings were wrong, and so I thought I was playing against Colby, but I actually was playing against Daniel Nelson for round one, and he was on Eraserhead. He was not happy when he found out he was playing against me because he's one of my locals now, so we've practiced that matchup quite a few times now. He knew going into it was not going to be a fun time. I originally thought that Eraserhead was going to be a hard matchup for me because like he has all the control pieces, and I'm playing all these slow attacks. Sure, he'll be able to block all of them, but it reaches a point he's not going to kill me for at least 2 or 3 turns because Eraserhead just can't do that. And eventually it just gets to a point where it does not matter how many control pieces he has. I've got 9 cards in hand. They're going to break through whatever wall you can possibly put up. So he had ended up he knew going into it was going to be the same issue, so he tried to just get me on turn 2. And it did not work out for him. He was pretty much just banking on I won't draw enough attacks on my turn 2 to clap back at him, and I did.
When you talk about wanting to play that late game, certainly seeing Tokoyami in the finals must have been a little
yeah, I pretty much went into that not having the greatest expectations how that game was going to go. I did beat a Tokoyami during Swiss. I went up against Ben Shoemaker for round 8. But the only reason that I won that game was that he whiffed on drawing enough attacks on it, what should have been his kill turn.
Right.
But yeah, Tokoyami is like absolutely the character I never want to see playing as Mei, because if anybody's going to kill you on turn 2, it's him.
Interesting. With learning the standards now hitting the top tables, Tokoyami players may be scarcer than ever, and we could see the resurgence of Mei Hatsumi, notably, not as popular in Orlando. One thing I do want to ask you real quick, this was considered a win condition, at least in my opinion, to other people I talked about. The way that the draw step works in our card game, if you have more cards in hand than your printed hand size, you basically just don't do anything. You can review if you want to, but you wouldn't draw any cards. Was there a lot of turns where you started with more than 5 cards in your hand as Mei?
Not that often. I think I only had like one time that did happen, and that was a game that just was going nowhere, where we were on like turn 6 or 7 or something. Most of the time, if I get to having that many cards in hand, either I'm trying to kill them on that turn or I'm using them to block with. Since I play so many assets too, I could play 6 cards a turn and I'm not going into deadlock because half of them were green anyway.
Fair enough. Andrew, notable matchups, easy matchups for fourth kind. You talked about running into a field of the 7 hand size squishy characters. Is there any that stick out as easier or harder for fourth kind, or does everything just look like a nail to a 5 hand size hammer?
Once I learned the matchup a little bit better and like came up with my sideboard plan, Toga felt really easy to beat. Like I played Travis on day 1, and after I lost to Travis, I did not lose another match to Toga the entire week of Origins. It just felt really easy because like the life defense is good, but they have to debuild their whole stage, and then they can't kill you, and you just keep slinging attacks at them. Once I learned my sideboard plan was just to go, hey, I play 30 attacks or 30 foundations and 27 attacks now after sideboarding. Good luck. Like, but like once I figured that out, it became really easy. For notable matches for the tournament, the day before the provisional that I got second in, I played against Brett Blackstock, who was playing Toru, I can't say her last name, Invisible Girl. And we played a really long 1-1 draw. It was the only draw I had the entire week playing fourth kind. It was just like a really long game, and we got paired round 1 of the regional, and I beat him in 6 minutes because I just like learned the matchup after playing him for an hour and 10 minutes straight, and I just like beat the brakes off him. I just realized, wait a second, what if I play the cool move first and go, do you want to flash this one?
Right.
And you do want to flash it? Well, too bad. Here's a second cool move. And I won in like 6 minutes. We played a second best of 3 for fun, and I won that one in 6 minutes as well, like 7 minutes. I played 2 best of 3s in round 1 in 13 minutes.
Yikes.
It was just crazy. And then I don't have anything too memorable between rounds 1 and 3. Round 4, I played against Brandon Bueno. We played the mirror. That match was fun. I won 2-1, and literally whoever went first won both games. That won all 3 games.
Sounds about right.
I played Nathan DeWalt. That match was fun. In Top Cuts, we'll get into it later. My most memorable match in Top Cuts was the finals.
Right.
There was a lot going on in that match. I played against Jacob Johnson, who just won the most recent regional, and that just again was a weird match where like he built one on turn 1 going first, and then I actually got to take a game going second against Tokoyami. But yeah, my most memorable match was probably my first round, just because of like how violently different it was from the first time I played against that exact same deck the day before.
Right.
So
you talked about the top tables. Let's get into the Top Cuts experience. Travis, tell me, what was it like for you to make it all the way to grand finals? Was it weird to be on stream? Anything you remember, or anything maybe you watched back from your grand finals experience?
So honestly, it was kind of a whirlwind, because obviously I had topped Origins, but like Florida was almost twice the size of Origins, and like you could tell the Top Cuts was like, it was cutthroat. Like we had JJ, we had Tim Keefe, obviously you were in there, Sam, and Jose Narono, Bromley. Like this Top Cuts was so stacked. And I was a little nervous. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. But like, I realized about halfway through that I was good enough to be in the tops, right? So like when I first got to the top 16, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't really know if I should be here. And then we got to like top 8, and I finished my top 8 match, and I was like, yeah, I just beat Tim Keefe. I'm good enough to be here. Like, man, that was an experience. I was shocked that they even wanted either of us on stream, right? Because it was the bird versus the frog. And like, those matches can either be really good or extremely boring. And I think me and Tim's match was like actually really good. We had like some, except for game 2. Game 2 was a complete wash, but we had some really good back and forth matches in games 1 and 3.
I think I watched game 3 of your guys' match, and I did enjoy it. I remember starting to watch game 2, and I like blinked and came back and was like, oh, I guess we're moving to game 3. So
yeah. Toru did not like me in Top Cuts. That's for sure. Except for against Barry Everson.
Okay.
Because the Jiro matchup for Toru is also really good, because you just flash their double jab pummel, and it's a 1 mid for 7 that doesn't do anything, and you're like, okay, sure, I'll block. Sounds good.
Right, you actually just get to break her through that and ruin their whole turn, pretty much.
Basically.
What was it like when you found out that your final 2 was going to be with JJ? Was it, did you guys get a chance to talk before the game at all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it was like this, it was cathartic, honestly, being able to see someone that I know so well, someone I've been friends with for so long, one of my greatest testing partners in finals, and have that wonderful match. Obviously, you guys saw, I'm sure most of you guys saw in game 1, I almost milled them out. We had like one of the longest games I'm sure that they recorded probably that day. And then game 2, I sided into Toru, which is something I've gotten a lot of shit about. I personally think that matchup is actually really good for Toru, but, you know, sometimes you check 3 threes in a row when you're playing your foundations, and I would have lost anyways.
Yeah, I think people are a little biased for 2 reasons. One, they saw it not work out for Mark Tyner like long time ago. And same thing, really, like he was just checking as bad as his deck could check. And then I don't think many people actually put the reps in to practice Toru. I think that they just jam her in the side at the last minute, say, this character's really good against characters who have one linchpin to their offense. and then they never actually practiced the matchup. They never practiced the offense. Were you practice like your actual sideboard characters in testing?
So in testing, I sided it if I felt the matchup required it, which it actually ended up coming up a lot more than I thought it would, because it's obviously really good against Tokiyami. It's good against Asui because it says she can't ever kill you on turn 2 because she actually has to play on progressive because you always flash the second one that she plays. Mm-hmm. So she plays that move and then she has to play her next one on a 6 or on a 7. If she checks bad, her turn is just over. I think that the amount of reps that I had for Toru were exactly enough for where I was playing at, like, in top cuts and where my standing was. Because obviously, I played a lot of Toru actually at Origins. She actually came in quite a bit. I would bring her in against Fourth Kind, I would bring her in against Toga sometimes, because being able to flash their moves so they can't get in excited for blood proc is pretty alright. It just forces them to have other attacks. Sided against Asui, Tokiyami. There are just a lot of characters in the format that want their attacks to, like, have card text and want their, like, they have to have more than one attack in order to, like, do stuff. So, like, against to use Mei Hatsume as an example, it says she has to draw 2 attacks as a 5-hander in order to get draws off a box of babies. And all the while she's doing this and committing stuff to play more attacks, you're just bouncing her foundations every time she doesn't block, and she's a 5-hander. So you're actively saying, hey, you get to draw less attacks on average because you've got all this gray in your hand. And that's one of, like, honestly, the easiest matchups are the 5-handers that care about having attacks, because you just say, hey, you're a 3-hander, you're a 4-hander, you don't actually get to have all these attacks that you want to have. And I think that's what I love about Toru, is she promotes this controlled game plan, but she doesn't feel extremely oppressive about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I love her response, but I don't get it off too often, usually just against 5-handers. But I haven't put in all the reps with her. You know, I haven't actually practiced the sideboarding with her too often. Andrew talking about knowing the matchup, it'd be interesting to see the two of you play that out, maybe live stream some testing, because if it's solved on both ends, you know, seeing that at the highest level could be really interesting and really helpful for a lot of people who don't believe in the Toru sideboard, or for these people who are siding her and not seeing the results.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think me and Andrew do have a plan kind of on Saturday to record some matches, do some, like, real deep dives. We want to do basically an over-explain, like, matches or set of matches where we just explain every single, like, move we make so people can kind of get into our heads and our thought processes and know the way we think at like, the highest level, right?
Awesome. Andrew's still notably ducking me on playing recovery.
It's not ducking you. I'm just so busy this week, Sam.
He's just scheduled all these. He literally said, "Dope, we can make time for that." I gave him a time to do it, and he said, "Wow, I can't do that."
I said, "We can make time." You gave me one exact time, and it was the thing I already committed to do.
Well, true. Getting this man to do anything else aside from what he has scheduled is like pulling teeth.
I'm a lazy person, dude.
I have to get him to, like, I have to threaten him to play League of Legends with me, basically.
He never plays League with me. So,
my god, I hate it.
It's okay. I had to watch him play League with Bromley.
We're going to move on to Zach. Zach, I need you to tell me your top tables experiences, what it was like when you found out you were going to grand finals. You know, anything throwing you off about being on stream? Like, what was it like? I know you had been on stream earlier on in the day, you know, so that wasn't going to be like your first time being streamed or anything. Anything you remember from that match, from your grand finals match, or anything that you watched back from the tapes?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I pretty much went into that match expecting it to not be a win for me. I mean, I'm going up against Tim Keefe playing the character I most do not want to see, and I have to go second. So it was pretty much everything was stacked against me. I did end up game 3, getting actually one chance to have redemption because he did not have enough to kill me on his turn 2. But then my deck just absolutely did not want to cooperate with me, and I got a little bit too greedy with my Destined for Mainstream successes and got punished pretty bad for that by not using them. I think I checked a 3 on every single check I tried to make that turn.
Yeah, it was rough.
It was bad.
I respected the attempt so much. I knew exactly what was going through your head, but it was rough.
Was kind of fun though that when I played the wire arrow so that I could get one of my babies into momentum so I could play capture evildoers, it threw Tim off because he was like, wait, what? And I thought he was at first like he didn't realize that he can put either player's asset into momentum. So I was just like, oh yeah, no, here, I showed him the card, but he's like, no, I understand what it does, I just can't figure out why you're doing it. Right. So that was kind of like a plus for me that like I did a move that confused him, Keith.
That's the angle you gotta take.
Right. But yeah, the part that I feel bad about in the end is that, like, because of how that went down, I didn't have enough attacks in my hand still. Like, I was relying off of playing the Unwavering Slash at the end, drawing a card off of it, getting out the box of babies again, because I would have had in my discard pile from discarding the momentum. I don't actually know if it would have been enough even if I did check 5s, because it all depended on what was I going to draw off of those. So now I'll never know if I would have been enough to kill.
Right.
But yeah, playing on stream, I've done it a few times in UFS and when I was playing Final Fantasy before. So like I'm pretty used to playing on stream. The only thing that kind of threw me off after the fact was I didn't realize that everybody could see the entire table. So my remove from game pile was completely messy, and I guess everybody thought that I only had 3 babies the entire time, and everybody was like freaking out saying that I was doing some like weird like huge big brain move where I was siding into playing fewer copies of it so that way I could have a larger deck or something like that. But it was really just I didn't know you guys could even see it, so I didn't bother to like make the area look good.
Right. It's always funny being the spectator on the stream and you're just like, I have no clue what is actually the reason behind whatever you're seeing, and you just want to know so bad. Mm-hmm. When it came to being on stream, you know, playing against Tim Keefe and you know, seeing your worst matchup, did you have a game plan to like do something totally different, something totally radical? Did you just plan to try and go as fast as possible and sort of force the action?
Pretty much. The big thing I knew is that I had a staff strike in my sideboard for the tournament, mainly because I didn't want to be mainboarding it, because if they're playing like I can't even think what the name of it is, the Eraserhead Foundation that can cancel enhance. Night Watch. If they had that, if they were Toru, if they had anything that would just like say no to me being able to do the combo, I didn't want to play it, and I didn't necessarily need it. It was kind of just a worse version of Capture Evildoers.
Right.
So I used it for being in the sideboard, because like if I don't need it, then I don't even want to start with it in the deck. But if they don't have anything that goes against it, then I'll go ahead and bring it in. I think I cited it in game 2 every single game the entire tournament except for against Tim Keefe, just because I didn't think the game was going to last long enough that I would have enough foundation to even try to play it. I expected that if I'm going to be doing anything, it was going to be on turn 2 every single time.
That is a fair assumption when it comes to the bird. It may not be what you want to do, but it sometimes is how it is. Andrew, when it came to making it all the way to finals with Fourth Kind, and you know you weren't being live streamed, was there any consideration there? Has it ever affected you to be streamed, and the fact that it wasn't live streamed? Do you think is there any difference there?
Not really. I think just because the nature of my deck is that like I can just play games that are not interactive. I do talk a lot about blocking with Fourth Kind, and you can go into deadlock and play a long game, but like I'm not dumb. My deck is a smooth brain aggro deck most of the time. Like most of the time, my goal is to not let you play more than 2 turns.
I just want to point out, you said I'm not dumb, but my deck is smooth brain, so there might be a little.
I mean, I am a little. So I can talk up all the defensive capabilities that you can do with Fourth Kind, but in the end, he is a 5-hander aggro deck. Like, my goal is to draw 4 attacks and make you disappear. So I think as far as not being streamed, like, it wasn't a big deal for me, just because like my stream matches were the 2 of the shortest ones they had at Origins. They did put it up on YouTube. Like the 2 times or the 3 times I was on camera against Brandon Bueno, against Jacob Johnson, and against Corey Aguiar. Like, there's some of the short, outside of my match against Corey, there's some of the shorter matches of the whole event, just because like my deck does one thing very well. It can do other things, but the intention is to just unga bunga. I have 4 arms, catch, like, so yeah, I don't think that had too much to do with it, too much impact. I think if it would have been streamed, I would have felt the same as I felt at the time.
Yeah, fair enough. Is there anything that you guys would, I guess, do differently, Travis, with the power of hindsight, right? Is there anything that you wish you could go back and change, whether it's about your deck, whether it's about the plays that you made? Is there anything that you, I guess, sort of learned in hindsight from the event?
I think that I would have taken Wall Cling out of my deck and just played more Faith Shields. I also would have taken Crone Frog out of my deck and just played 4 of the attacks that I already knew were good. I think that's about it, though. I think my deck was about as good as it could have gotten for the event. I think I played almost all of my games the entire day super well. I only actually lost a singular match, much less like a game, up until top cuts. So I think I did fine.
Yeah, I did think that your deck was prepared for everything. You know, when talking about the Water Asui deck on stream, it was very much like the most complete list, right? It's the one that has a little something for every deck out there. Zach, is there anything, looking back at it, going back, hindsight is 2020, is there anything you would have changed about your approach to either the matchup, maybe the deck building, maybe the sideboard options?
I think the biggest thing is that I just think it would have been better if it was a more streamlined version of the deck. The one that I took to Vegas, if you include the box of babies, I think it was like a 72 card deck.
Ooh, okay.
And like, I've in general been like a big proponent of like, oh, you don't have to play minimum, like you want to have like a variety of options, blah blah blah, but that was too much. The reason it ended up being that way was that I just kept putting more and more assets in there, but I didn't want to necessarily draw all of them on turn 1, so I needed to put other stuff in to bloat the deck a little bit. But after, like a couple weeks after the tournament was over, I started just like messing around with like going the complete other extreme end of like, I had a meme deck that I made that was 46 cards and it only had 16 foundations in it, and it played the worst defense possible, but it actually played offense way better. The fact that I'm getting Unwavering Slash in my hand pretty much every single time that way just made it so much more consistent. So I still am kind of like tinkering with the deck, but I think the optimal way is somewhere in the middle of there. Like I think it needs to be closer to like a 55, 58 card maybe. I just to kind of work on figuring out where that needs to be at. But the way I had it for what I had brought, I think I just kind of got lucky a lot of times that I happened to draw what I needed because there was a lot of just bloat that was in there too.
Right. I've never been married to the idea of having minimum deck size. I think the smallest deck I've played on average is like 63 back when 59 was the minimum, right? Mm-hmm. And I've struggled to go to the minimum in my hero a lot, but I don't find myself going over 60 very often just because the string style offense that most decks are running, I usually need to see a little repetition. I need to see like 2 copies of my extender. 2 hardened jab pummels are better than 1 kind of a thing. So,
and with me, like, my strings didn't necessarily care that much, like, what exactly am I drawing? But if I had Unwavering Slash in my hand turn 2 every single game, that would be the most optimal position to be in.
Yeah, that's certainly how I felt about playing Sports Festival Danky in Orlando. So, we got to go to you, Andrew. You know, looking back at the grand finals, in Origins, you know, is there anything you might change about the deck? You know, maybe something you might change about the sideboard. Maybe something you might change about the way you played.
So about the deck, I've said this on your show because I've been on once between Origins and now. I think for Origins, the deck was actually I wouldn't change anything for Origins. If I could replay Origins, I wouldn't change a single card in my deck. I thought my deck for Origins was really good. Moving forward, I think it's not good. I had people telling me in Orlando they were playing my list from Origins, and I was like, ooh, wait, don't do that. Play this list instead, because that list was made to play what I thought I was going to play against in Origins. I'll never, ever, 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 ever forget to commit gotcha with Indiscriminate Shock again. Like that'll never happen again. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I guess.
How many times did you kill people with a 3-speed Indiscriminate throughout the day, right? Like, how often were they tapped out and you needed to commit that gotcha?
0 until I played Corey. Like, 0. You know what I mean? Like, it was one of those things that, like, it's one of those things because, like, in our card game, that's a little bit different from other card games, is you can do things to no effect a lot. You can do things like flipped, if you're playing a life deck playing Bonds of Friendship and Frog Lashing, you can just flip your Bonds of Friendship to say this Fury attack gets -3 damage. The game goes, wait, there's no Fury attack, and you're like, well, I paid cost, so we're already.
I've done that quite a few times with Frog Lashing.
Yeah, or you know, there's a variety of examples. So I went through all my decision making trees. I even started my turn with like, wait a second, I know Corey's deck list. He had 2 cards in hand. I knew he couldn't discard for Erase after he had to block all my moves because he was at 4. All my moves do base 4 damage. I knew after the first one, he could not exchange the card in his hand for an Erase because if it was a low block, he was dead on the half block. And so I said, oh wait, Corey doesn't play any +1 lows after I once per game and he has to block the first attack. If I just commit this gotcha, he's dead. And then I got to the point where I had to commit the gotcha and my brain went, haha, he's dead, I win. And I just didn't do it because he was committed out. He was committed out. So like in my head, I was like, man, he can't do anything here. And then it was one of those things where like, because he was tapped out, because his whole board was committed, I was like, oh, I don't have to do this because he's just dead. It had killed everyone else up to that point. Why would it not also kill this man who has a card in his card pool? And, you know, so it's one of those things like for the event, I wouldn't change my deck. The only gameplay decision that I made the whole event that I would do differently, there's 2. One is is game 3 in the finals against Corey. And then in my match against Brandon Bueno, I think Lenoco, who's in the chat, was there for this. I played game 1 and I won. And then in game 2, I looked at my hand, I looked at Bueno's board and went, this hand does 34 if Bueno does exactly nothing. And I just played, and I asked Lenoco, I went, I won game 1, right? And he went, yeah, you won game 1. And I went, cool. And I played all the attacks in my hand. And when it didn't kill him, I just conceded and said, let's go to game 3.
Fair enough.
And I probably should have just played that differently, but like I was like, whatever. Like I'm playing with house money at this point. I want to, you know, I get to go first next game. So,
right. When it comes to, you know, the gotcha issue, I make that mistake a lot, especially in testing, where at the start of the turn, I'll tell myself all I have to do is gotcha on Indiscriminate, and then sometime during the turn, my brain, like, it has a check mark list. It has already checked that task away. And so my brain says we already did that somehow. Like it doesn't worry about doing that. So I've made that mistake a lot in the past. And to help me, I have created a Nightbot command. I can just type !G now, and Nightbot will remind me to use gotcha.
You know, I will say, I was beating myself up about it pretty badly for a while. I'm over it now. I signed some gotchas in Orlando. Some guy was like, well, I don't want my 4th kind signed because it's my only one. And he didn't have anything else he wanted signed. And he was like, I was like, I can sign some gotchas if you want. That'll be hilarious. And so I signed some gotchas in Orlando. But like, yeah, I mean, for me, it was like a moment where, and Travis can tell you this because Travis and I had never met before Origins. I think we've become pretty good friends since then. But yeah, I put and if a lot of people who were at the event too, I put a lot of pressure on myself because up until Origins, I had lost like 3 win-in-ins at events. I lost my win-in in Omaha. I lost my win-in for like a case tournament we were having that was like 30 something people. So it was like, it wasn't a huge event, but it was like a big deal to me. You know, and I lost another win in for one of the online provisionals, I think, as well. But I'd always just been like so close, and then to get to the finals, so a funny story that I wanted to bring up earlier and I just forgot. I played against Phil Birch in top 8, right? Everyone I thought who supported me and loved me messaged me and said, "I love you, dude, but I really want Phil to win this whole tournament." And then I beat Phil, and they're like, "Oh, he's playing against JJ," and I got the same people messaging me like, "Man, we really love you, dude, but like I'm rooting for JJ." And I was like, "Yo, what's happening? I've never done anything wrong in my life." Like, just, you know. And then the funny part was that because the Corey versus Brandon Smith match took so long, and they wanted to put JJ and I on camera, JJ and I hung out for like 3 hours during that match because that match took so long.
Wow.
We like walked around Origins together and stuff. So yeah, it was cool. Like I had a really good time, and the gacha thing was like a big sore point for me for a little bit. I am 90% over it. If you change my name to Gacha Beyond Gaming, I'm going to leave, Sam. You better not. I see you in the chat. I will leave.
I might change the Nightbot command to
okay.
Gacha Beyond
Gacha
Gaming.
Beyond Gaming. I gotcha. So, but yeah, it was. I had put a lot of pressure on myself to do well at this event. And so getting to the finals, I just got so excited when I realized I had won, and all the pressure I put on myself and all the playtesting I had done. Even if it wasn't with Fourth Kind, it was just testing in general. Like all the time I had been putting in, the YouTube stuff, it was all paying off in that moment because I won the tournament. And then my brain went, haha, just kidding. So, yeah.
So, will you feel, when you see your opponents play gacha, does that have any effect on you? Are you like afraid of losing to a
No.
Because I get butthurt at the +1 speed, like all the time.
I haven't lost to it yet, but I did have someone who could have committed a gacha to their indiscriminate shock, and it would have killed me. And then when they didn't do it, they lost the game because of it. So that was cool. I got some. It wasn't at like a major event. It was at like some locals I went to, but like I got to be on the other side of that. And the whole time I was just like sitting like this, staring at his gacha, and I was like, maybe he'll do what I did and just not commit it. He'll just won't commit it. And then he didn't, and I was like, hell yeah, I'm alive.
Dude.
So,
you know, I've had people do that to me at locals. I can't remember if it was strictly like to kill me or not, but I've definitely blocked some stuff due to an errant gacha. So it's not just you, it's everybody. But let's talk the aftermath. Let's talk about, you know, just after the event, right? You've finished the game, we've shook hands, you've probably done like the post-game interview, stuff like that. Tell me what that's like. Tell me what's going through your mind. You know, basically like the first hour or two after the event. Zach, I want to hear from you just because yours was chronologically the first. I feel like we should start with that one.
So the very first thing I did was I took out the Detroit Smash, took a picture of it, and sent it to Jose just to show off that while mine's only a silver one, at least mine actually exists.
The ultimate flex.
That is
real.
But yeah, I was in like just kind of such a daze afterwards because like I really did not expect that I was going to make it. But like I didn't even think I was going to make top cuts, and then to make it that far in was just amazing. So honestly, I don't even really remember a lot of what happened afterwards. I know I went to eat at Chili's afterwards, and I was very tired, and I think I went to sleep early that night.
Vegas Chili's hit different, by the way. I don't know why, but they do.
Yeah, it was a lot better than normal. It was also more expensive, but I don't know if that's just Chili's has changed since the last time I had been there, but
probably proximity to the strip.
Yeah, because the thing I always get, like they make a big deal about it, it's called the 3 for $10, but the one that they had at Vegas was called 3 for Me, and it was like $10.50 or something. I was like, you took away like you don't even have like the cool name for it anymore now.
So wait, man, when they got rid of $5 footlongs, I knew capitalism had gone too far.
Right?
Travis, tell me the aftermath immediately after the event, right, in Orlando. You know, I was there for this, but tell the people, you know, at in the chat, you know, tell chat what was going through your mind immediately after the the games were over?
So I was just ready to do anything that was not playing card games at that point. So I think after it all ended, because actually, so to put it in perspective, we were there for an extra like 2 hours the night before trying to figure out who was actually in Top Cuts. So I'm pretty sure most of the players in Tops were so sleep deprived. So I just wanted to chill, do non-card game things, eat some good food, and sleep. And that's basically what we did. I think it was me, Andrew, Nate, and JJ all went to this sports
Sam
bar.
was there.
Oh yeah, Sam.
I was looking about Sunday. On Saturday,
No,
Sam wasn't there.
Oh yeah.
He didn't need to say me because he was talking to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I
Fair.
mentioned I was there.
Well, he said sports bar, so I was trying to get him back on the right train.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair.
Honestly, all of it was kind of a blur. I was so flabbergasted that I even made it there. I didn't expect it to happen at all. I also was just okay with the fact that, hey, I lost to JJ, because that's how all of our events go. It's actually a headcanon at this point that he is my kryptonite. Because every provisional we've ever played in, for all of my win-ins, it's always JJ, and I always either lose or draw. There's no, in between. So I was exhausted.
Yeah, I think that's probably the general consensus, right? You get something to eat, you crash sleep, you deal with it pretty much tomorrow. But for our buddy Andrew, you were at a convention, right? I don't know how long you said you took the extra 3 hours. I don't know when you guys got done. What was it like directly after the event? Did they have any post-game interviews at Origins?
So they did. Funnily enough, I stand up and I'm clearly upset with myself. And funnily enough, you can see how upset I am on the YouTube channel, because for some reason they don't cut the cameras, and you could see me with my head down on the table for a solid minute, just not wanting to look up because I was so frustrated with myself. Because it's so I stand up and Aspira goes, "Hey buddy, we're gonna do an interview. I know you're kind of distraught right now, so I'm gonna give you a couple minutes. We're gonna do an interview." And I was like, "I'm good. We can do it now." And then he puts his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "You got one of those cool Origins mats yet?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "It's not going to make you feel any better, but you can have that one." And so I got the Origins mat over here somewhere. We did the interview. You guys all had a way better time after the event than I did, because I immediately had to get in my car and drive home to be at work the next day.
Oh.
So I literally said bye to the Omaha group and to a couple. It's I know Rochester already left for the day. I said bye to Omaha group. I said bye to Ryan Kraft and Matt Childress and them. I said bye to my friends from the Gulf Coast, and then we got in a car and just started driving home. And I just sat in silence for 14 hours. So it was great. I got to live in my own mistake miserably.
The long drive probably did you some good, because driving, long drives, typically we get our brain stays active and we get to process things a little easier that way. A lot of times a little stimulation goes a long way towards helping us work through things, right? You kind of get to do two things at once with your brain. So
yeah,
I'm hoping that was what you needed at the time. But was there any sort of after party? I know celebrating after getting second place doesn't sound right, but for those of you who have received your prize cards and things like that, I want to know, have you guys gotten any offers? Have you guys listed? Do you have any intent to sell? Zach, tell me, with your Detroit Smash, do you have any intent to put it on the market?
No, I actually played it at locals the very next week.
I need to get Dan to steal it from you and send it away.
So I played against Pippa in one of the rounds of Swiss, and she was doing that the All Might deck that does the ridiculous things. I thought that was the coolest thing ever, and until then I only owned 3 copies of Detroit, so now I own 4 copies of it. I'm like, hey, now I can actually play that deck.
Nice, we got the short printed UR.
Yeah.
Travis, I know we had an excellent time going to dinner at the Buscando Italian restaurant, whatever it was called out in Florida.
Yeah.
But was there any, like, how fast did you get an offer for the Frigid Heat Wave?
So it actually came like, I want to say 4 days after. I won't say who bought it just for like privacy reasons,
Right,
but
I don't want to dox anybody on camera.
I will say that the amount was around 5.5 thousand for what I sold mine for. I think that's roughly fair for the second place one. I think you could probably get it for a little more. Just because, in my personal opinion, I think it actually looks better than the first place one, and I hope they keep that trend going.
Yeah, it might be a small consolation. I was surprised it was as close to the champion, so that's good that they were, at least the rumors I've heard on the champion cards has been about 6.5, so the fact that they're competitively priced is pretty cool. Andrew, do you have it as a keepsake? Are you planning to sell it as it? Boom, he's got it ready to go.
Yeah, it's on my desk. It's a constant reminder that I'm bad at the game and I have to get better. So whenever I play test against people,
but one person, I'm so bad.
So every time I play against anybody, I put it in my keyboard on TTS so that I have to look at it to look at my hand in TTS as a constant reminder that if I don't win this game, something's wrong. No, I mostly I got an offer on it, and I don't want to like blast the dude about it, but it's the same guy who offered on Travis's, who I think didn't know that I was like Travis and I are friends. So when he offered me what he did, I was like, "Yo, did you just offer Travis like way more than that?" So
that was very awkward.
You guys should have banded together to hold it like 6.5.
Yeah, so I still have it. I do want to get rid of it, but the more it sits on my desk next to all of these open drink containers, the more I think I have to keep it, right? Because like now it's mine. It sits here. I don't know. I'm on the fence about it. I want to sell it really badly. I'm also the laziest human being alive. And the idea of making a Facebook post that takes longer than 45 seconds to do just intimidates me. So,
Well, it also may appreciate greatly in value, right? They're already extremely rare. It's one of 3, I'm pretty sure, for the heat waves. Mm-hmm. And so if one collector has already bought one, then it stands to reckon that for the marketplace, it's a one of 2, essentially. So
yeah,
when it comes to selling these trophy cards, it's something that I think a lot of people have been really interested in. A lot of people have been wondering what they'll go for. I personally am amazed, but also very glad that these cards do have some worth, right? They do, like, it's not necessarily about the prize, but it does kind of suck to win an event and walk away with like roughly $100 worth of promos, especially if you've spent a whole bunch of time traveling and things like that. So getting the gamers paid is definitely something very cool about the My Hero format now in our game. Now we've talked about the preparation for the events. We've talked about your guys' experiences at the events and everything that comes after it. Now I want to talk about maybe anything you guys want to talk about in the community, anything that you may have a soapbox for, or anything about the future for the state of the game. Travis, tell me, is there anything that's really pressing on your mind, or anything that, this is like your one chance to talk to the community, to signal boost, some issue or something you just want people to know about? Is there anything you're dying to let them know?
So, me personally, whenever I played this game, for as long as I played this game, which to put it in perspective is about 6 or 7 years now, even before it was My Hero, I think the metas where people are trying to just turn to other players consistently are always the worst and least interesting metas. I think when games are on average going to turn 3, turn 4, those are like the most fun and interesting because you get this good back and forth of players getting to interact and trying to like basically dual puzzle their way around their opponent's board. I think that's when this game is the most interesting, and I hope that they don't like stop supporting aggro characters, but that when they do make an aggro character, they don't make their offense so free that when you kill someone on 2, it's expected, not like disincentivized, basically. Like when you kill someone on turn 2, it should be because you drew the nuts, they checked bad, you checked amazing, and it was basically you just RNG'd them out of the game. Like, you shouldn't just be able to kill someone on turn 2 as, like, an expected thing, in my opinion. And I've talked to Matt Gideon about this as well, who he works for Jasco, and I hope they do something about it, honestly, going forward.
It's a tough balancing act because of the card equity that we get in our game, but I can definitely echo that sentiment. And honestly, we could, as a community, just sort of agree, right, to play the Meihatsumis, to play the Eraserheads. We don't have to touch, the Tokoyamis. It doesn't have to come from Jasco, guys. You can just all sign up as Momo. We can do this.
I like winning.
What?
I like winning, and the best way to win right now is to be hyper aggressive.
You're allowed to win on turn 4. You're allowed to win.
I don't want that.
I had to police myself playing Denki on the air symbol to not attack on turn 2. And then as soon as I got to Orlando, turn 2, my opponents were dead. Like, I could just look at my hand, I could look at my board and know that regardless of what they have on their symbol, they are just dead. They would literally have to be holding, like, a double front beat. No, all my shit's for printed values. Like, there was nothing that they could do. So, bring back turn 3, make turn 3 great again, whatever slogan you need. I think that turn 2ing someone should require your opponent to make mistakes. I think your opponent should have to misplay into it. Or just check running 3s to block, I guess, is also fair. What about you, Zach? Zach, do you have any banner that you want to call everyone under? Any ideas for the future? Anything about the state of the game you want to talk about?
So this is probably something that hardly anybody but me cares about, but I do care about this. Jasco, please errata detonation launcher. I hate the way that card works.
I'm with you on that, actually. I hate that card, too.
I think it's fair to say that does not work the way they intended it to work. Mm-hmm. Can we just get that fixed to say the next card that you play?
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. I will echo that sentiment as well. Let me get ones in chat for errata to detonation launcher, because I have to explain how it works every single time. Every single time someone plays it against me. I'm never the one playing it. I don't think the card's that great. I wish people would just never play it, because they always immediately go to check their next card. And I'm like, actually, that goes to your momentum. And the best part is it's almost always an attack that I wish they actually checked.
Yeah. It's really weird because, like, that's how effects like that have basically always worked in my experience. So, like, I'm kind of used to it. But at the same time, I wish they would just change it in the LGR to where effects like that don't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
If it did anything, like, I don't even care about the flip part of it. If it did anything but mess with the top card of your deck, I wouldn't care, because it's easy to fix.
Yeah.
Right, it just wouldn't cause the stupid, technically a game infraction. Like, you're supposed to know how your cards work, and technically I'm supposed to call a judge on you and get a stupid warning for,
but then at the same time, like, technically you should have stopped them before it even got to that point.
Yeah,
so,
how many times are you going to stop somebody from making a control check? Like, it's doable, but it's tough. But yeah, you pretty much have to slow the entire game down and say, hey, man, do you know how your own card works every time? And unless you want to go through it. So, Linoko's saying he's
because that card's going to see a lot more play.
What was that?
It sucks because that card's going to see a lot more play in the coming future with the new provisional promo. Sorry to interrupt, but
no.
Explosion, whatever that card is called, is
Explosion
actually obnoxious. Yeah. Like, with, I think it's Gigantic Explosion. That card is actually obnoxious with the 5 diff we were just talking about. I forget the name. Because it gives you the momentum for it for free. Promo. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a combo I see on the horizon. It's one of the better ways to get fast momentum. A kill string that is like detonation launcher into impact cyclone into the new Bakugo Robert kick, whatever you want to call it. We can call it happy feet again, even though it's not a kick. Like, I see that being a common string, especially at your casuals and your locals. I don't know if anyone outside of Kirishima 2 is probably going to rock that at like top tables, but that effect is absolutely nuts. And, you know, Linoco is abstaining because they played in Mineta, but we're not calling to like change what it does. We just want it to act how they probably intended it to. So,
yeah.
Andrew, I know that you have a platform that you use regularly to talk about pressing issues within the community and things that are important to you. You can absolutely use this time to run down mechanically unique promos if you would like. You have the floor to talk about anything you want to address the community with, though.
All right, so I will not do mechanically unique promos. I've actually had quite a few conversations and discussion with a variety of people regarding that. I'm not gonna like jump into that because I think they were meant to be private, but I did have a lot of conversations, which those have been the conversations themselves have been public. The content of the conversation has been private. So like, I'm confident that a lot of my issues will get resolved. Hopefully in 2023, I'll just have to bite my tongue for a little while. I liked Zach's idea. I have a card I want changed, and it's because it's a card I've hated since the moment I started playing this game. Are you ready? No one's gonna like this one but me. I want Hardened Jab to move the colon to after adding a face down foundation to your hand. It upsets me. And it's a completely irrelevant complaint, but it upsets me as a person that card, the colon is under after in hand. So, you know, it's a very minor thing. But yeah, I want to move the colon on Hardened Jab. If I actually ever got any amount of power in Jasko, I would immediately force out an errata on that card. That'd be the first thing I did.
Well, that would actually be an effective power level errata compared to the detonation launcher effect change, but it would pretty much not actually hurt the validity of the card, right? Like there's so many times where you're playing it on a 6 and committing a face down anyway.
I just hate that card. I actually don't mind that card when you play it on a 6 and pick up a face down. I hate it when you play on a 4 and build the top card of your deck.
Right.
That's when I hate the card. So
that's the usage you would effectively be nerfing, and you know, I'm here for it. It does enough things that it doesn't need to just give you an extra foundation. There's 3 other punches on the symbol that do that anyway, right? Like, or one's a kick, you know, but there's plenty of other cards, plenty of other attacks to ramp your foundations on that symbol in that kit. So I could definitely get behind that. I can 100% get behind turn 2ing being, you know, impractical, I think we can call it, because you'll almost never kill it completely because of the way that offense in the game works, because of the way that drawing up to your hand size works, having the multiple, you know, turn offense is just hard to regulate.
I will say, Sam,
especially where we're at with the mechanics in the game. But I definitely think the most pressing issue is detonation launcher. It is just worded weirdly. All the other Bakugo cards from set 1 are worded perfectly fine. They reference playing the card, and the fact that detonation launcher doesn't just kind of makes it the black sheep of the family. So
I have one other thing, Sam.
Oh, you're gonna double up. You're gonna cheat these.
I'm gonna double up, and this one's a little more comical. I think you and I should be allowed to challenge Tam and Levi to a WWE cage match for the commentator booth at any regional, anytime. I think that we should anytime, as long as the regional is going on and they are not in the middle of a match, we should be allowed to bring out the cage and challenge them to a cage match, and whoever wins gets to cast, and they can come back and challenge us the next round. But that should be how commentating works at regionals.
I have one question about that. Who's going to commentate that match?
Ispira.
That's
Yeah.
I was gonna ask who's gonna do the commentary for the cage match.
Actually, we have the old heads from UFS. They all love wrestling, right? We can get like Chris Smith on commentary for a wrestling match. You know,
Jesse Senor Lucha absolutely would be there for that.
Yeah, so our goal is to get cage matches sanctioned at events specifically for the commentator booth.
My specialty is ladder matches, but I can definitely get down with cage matches.
Yeah. So Tam said he would for sure win. He said that they would for sure win if that actually happened, and now it has to happen.
Only if they could escape the cage because they're faster and skinnier than us. But there's no way they could out wrestle us in a cage. Like, you go 80s style, you go Tully Blanchard, back before there was a door on the cage for pansies to escape out of, where it was a blood feud with wicker chairs and people throwing soda cups, and there's no referee. Yeah. There's just one man has to quit. There's no way they could take us.
Yeah. What's my so my wife's in the chat, by the way, Sam. She said, "What's my finisher gonna be?" I'm a good old classic power bomb, dude. I love Levi, and if I know he's not here, and if he ever rewatches this, I would power bomb Levi through a wrestling ring for the commentator booth. I love you, Levi, but I would immediately challenge you to a wrestling match, not a fight, a wrestling match for the commentator booth at Gen Con.
I would love to see Levi get power bombed. I would love to see that. That would 100% make my day.
All right. So how are we going to have wrestling matches, though, if I can't even suplex my opponent through a table?
No, you can do that now. That's not in the rules anymore.
You can't do that during the rounds. Right. You can absolutely do that if they're not playing. If they're not your rival in a game, doesn't say you can't suplex a commentator.
Oh,
I would do Made in Japan if I felt I was flexible enough to actually rotate my body that way. I can't actually do a Made in Japan, though. I'm not flexible enough to lift somebody and turn my head and then drop. I don't know. It's complicated.
We don't want to get started on wrestling finishers. I could be here all night on that one.
Yeah.
I have a lot of hot takes when it comes to pro wrestling. That is a separate podcast that is actually on hiatus. So let's not get me started on pro wrestling. I want to go back to Zach. We talked about the parting words for Detonation Launcher. Now, knowing what we know about all of this going forward in the future, can we expect to see you on the May Hatsumi going into the next competitive events? And what competitive events can we expect to see you at? Are you playing in the online provisional coming up, or any of the upcoming regionals?
So I'll probably be in at least some of the upcoming webcam ones. I am planning on going to the Pasadena regional. Have not figured out yet. Right? Haven't figured out yet what I'm going to be playing. May's on the list, but I also just recently started playing the Staff Strike Giro deck, and that is a ton of fun. It feels like just cheating once you get that combo to go off.
That deck seems so unfair to play against.
Staff Strike is actual crack cocaine.
Yeah. Watching Jose check a 3 and flip advice for winners and just go, tee-hee, no I didn't, and just continue to Staff Strike me is actually depressing. The fact that also it's the weapon card itself ignores progressive, that blows my mind. That I actually should probably ask a judge. Maybe we got Nil. Is Nil still streaming? I want to see Staff Strike be worked out in a way where if you recheck it, it blows the charge on it ignoring progressive, because that felt really insane to me, where it's he basically has to check a 3 twice in a row while ignoring progressive to continue ignoring progressive.
Right.
So. In his 12 attack deck.
Yeah, the 14. We went up to 14. But still, yeah. It was the amount of times I've played against Jose and he looks me dead in the face and says, I actually literally cannot check an attack, is so frustrating. So to see him playing this deck that now has advice for winners and all the stats in the world, that shit is crazy. So you said you're going to be hopefully in Pasadena, hopefully online playing.
Pasadena should be happening. I'll most likely be at a few of the provisionals, but not really sure or exactly which ones. Possibly all of them. Who knows?
Awesome. Well, I hope to see you at as many events as you can make it to. I got to get back in the shape of playing. I've been doing too much broadcasting, so hopefully I'll be in the online provisional. Travis, are you going to keep playing the Frog? Is there anything else on your mind? Are you looking to play just the best decks, or do you have a pet deck you're looking to whip out? And what events can we expect to see you at coming up?
Well, Sam, to that question, I have one answer, and it's the Frog is Pog.
The
So
frog is Pog.
So thus, I will keep playing the frog until the wheels fall off, probably. And I do plan on being at Gen Con.
Basically.
Yeah. I do plan on being at Gen Con as well.
Okay.
So people will see me there. Honestly, I plan on traveling to like every event that I possibly can travel to for like regionals and stuff like that. I don't really care about provisionals, at least not until the next set of provisional promos comes out. But after that, we're just grinding regionals, trying to get the Worlds points up so we can go to Worlds at the end of the year and hopefully make us some money.
Sick, yeah, and you've got that. If I'm not mistaken, you have a bye at Nationals, correct?
Correct. Yes, I do.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see your run at Gen Con. I now have to put Sue on my bingo card. You know, I expect to see you in Top Cuts there, and seeing you.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see you at Nationals. I can't wait for the Nationals information to be released, really.
True.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying true. Like, yeah, I can't wait to see Nationals info. I hope we get it soon.
Yeah, definitely the thing I'm most anticipating right now. You know, I haven't done super well at regionals. I don't think I'm anywhere close to qualifying for anything at the end of the year. So I'm really looking to do something, right? I'm looking to really make a deep run at these next couple major events. Andrew, give me your take on going forward. Are we still rocking fourth kind? What events am I going to see you at? Maybe even events you're not playing in. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I can't talk about any events that I'm not playing in at all. I'll get in trouble. Tamron Cardwell already got in trouble. I am going to Gen Con. I'm really trying to go to Toronto. I really want to go to that regional really badly. As far as what I'm going to play, I don't know, man. I never know. I actually never know. Like, I didn't know what I was playing in Orlando until 3 a.m. the night before.
It sounds like you're going to go to sleep, not build a deck, and then play fourth kind for the 9th time in a row.
But, well, here's the thing. Travis can tell you that I don't ever actually have decks built because he saw how it works. Everything's in binders. So when I decide to build a deck, it's at the last minute. Like,
wait, your
every single card.
Binders?
All of my cards. Hold on. I have them here. So anything that's not in the deck I played at locals is currently in this binder. So, yeah. I don't know if you can see, but
this guy is insane.
It's play sets of everything. There's like 4 of these binders now. So I am leaning towards fourth kind only because I think that any character that can viably play Blood Curdle in their main deck is going to be very, very good at Gen Con.
Okay.
And I think he is probably the best character at doing that right now, outside of like Evil Toga's really good at it, but Evil's not a real symbol.
Must be nice to own Blood Curdles.
Oh, yeah, well, you know. Mechanically unique promos, Sam. How do you feel about them?
I borrow all my cards from Brandon Jones anyway, so it's really up to whether or not he owns Blood Curdles.
Yeah, so I actually might end up playing Asui because that was the deck I played the most in set 1. That was the deck that I played at Omaha. That was the deck that I played at the other provisional, like the 2 provisionals that I lost for Top Cut. That was the deck that I did play. I really like that deck. I think nothing has changed. I still think it's the best deck. You and I casted that provisional together where I was like, Asui's just going to win the whole tournament. Nothing matters.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Man, every Asui we saw was just gifted that entire tournament.
Yeah, so I would say I'm trying to go to as many regional level events. I'm not super into the provisionals. I don't love webcam play, but I will play in every regional I can because, again, I'm on the World's Point hunt as well. I actually have the whole thing here. So, like, if you ever want to know what place you're in, Sam, I can tell you. Right now, you're in 18th place for World's Points.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you have 7 points, which has you tied for 17th with Riley Burgoon.
Nope. That's
weird.
Broberg was telling me that he did like way better than I did and was nowhere near contention. So
Broberg is currently in 6th place. He is 1 spot ahead of me by 2 points.
Interesting. Well, okay. Well, how many people from the points getters are gonna be? So
it's only 5 points from the points getters. But if any of those people in the top 5 get top 8 at any of these Nats that are going on, we don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Huh. Like we don't know if we're gonna roll down the points to 6th, 7th, 8th place. Like, you know, if Tim Keefe top 8's Nats, is he like or if Jacob Johnson top 8 Nats, which at this point he's topped literally every major event he's played in. Right. Is he going to end up like downshifting it to 2 through 6? We don't have any of those details yet. But yeah, I've been keeping up with the world's points. I'm missing a few of the points from Orlando, but if you got top like 24, I have you in the list already. I'm just missing like 25 through 32 to update the spreadsheet. But,
wow, this man doing the math, keeping track.
It's because the website's wrong, and I hate when things are incorrect.
Yeah. I try to stay out of it. I try not to be involved because if I put the effort into it and then, don't keep up with her, I put all this effort in, I'll just get like upset if it doesn't yield results for me. So I just try to wait and see what happens. I try to chill.
Yeah.
So there you have it. We've got some character loyalty here. We got the Frog running it all the way through probably all the events for the rest of the year. I really don't see a power level ban. It'd be cool if they banned stuff just to shake the format up, but if set 3 previews, are on the way, if they really believe that set 3 will usher in a refreshing format, which, set 2 definitely changed things, definitely made some more symbols viable. I just don't see too much changing in terms of a ban or a rata. So I'm going to wrap things up here. I want to thank you 3 gentlemen for joining me. I've had an absolute blast. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope the viewers in chat have enjoyed this, and thank you all for joining me for the last couple hours here on the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast. We couldn't do it. We wouldn't be here without you. I'm going to give you guys all a minute or two to run down your plugs, shout outs, anything you want. Any final words you have. Zach, go ahead and just, if you've got anything else you want to say, anyone you want to shout out, or any goodbyes.
Well, I'm going to feel left out if I don't plug Unfun Stuff, so go to Unfun Stuff, and Brahma, you owe me $1 because I said that.
I'm going to let him know. I'll send him the clip. Someone clip that so we can spam it at Bromley.
Sounds good.
Travis, you're up next.
So yeah, like Zach said, Unfun Stuff. That's unfunstuff.com. Make sure you check that out. Use code GoBeyond for your percentage off, and Andrew will get a nice little kickback from that. And then my channel, my YouTube channel, Oh Mr. Matsu, and my Twitch, Yo It's Matsu. You can catch me streaming there sometimes. On occasion, it's very rare. And then videos on YouTube.
Yep, we got yet another content creator out there in the world for you guys to follow. So make sure that you go and subscribe and you got the notification bell on, because there really is a ton of content coming out for this game, and you're gonna be missing out on the perspectives of the players who have been there. You should be learning from these guys. Really, honestly, it's why I brought them all here together, because I've learned a lot through this podcast just based on perspectives and choices going into formats and things like that. So this is definitely something you guys want to be doing, is making sure that you have all of the different content creators on your notifications. And speaking of content creators with notifications turned on, Andrew, you have any parting words for the people?
Yeah, youtube.com/c/GoBeyondGaming, where you can find me. I've done interviews with Sam before on there. There is not very much gameplay. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of meta breakdowns, things like that. But that's youtube.com/c/GoBeyondGaming to find me. Unfunstuff.com, code GoBeyond to save 5% on your order. That's right, unfunstuff.com, code GoBeyond. You'll save 5% on your order for the My Hero Academia collectible card game. It's great. It's not code gotcha. Don't let Sam trick you. It is promo code Go Beyond.
One more time.
Oh no! To save 5%. And other than that, I want to thank Sam for having us on. It was a lot of fun. This is my first time having like an extended conversation with Zach, and it was cool. I know we didn't do much back and forth talking, but it was interesting to hear it. I hate this code. I hate it, Sam. It was really interesting to hear Zach's take on his tournament run, because I was so busy after Vegas that I didn't even get to do my normal thing, which was try to find somebody who did well at the event and like have them on the channel, because I've been going nonstop. I didn't even do that for Origins, so like I've been running nonstop. So we're hoping to do some of that maybe for Orlando if it's not too late to get some of that out there. But yeah, thanks to you, Sam, for having us on. It was a lot of fun. Yeah,
man, no problem. Thank you guys for joining me. I felt bad because I had meant to get Zach on the podcast for a while, you know, and just everything got tripped up in my life. So I'm super happy we made it work. I was super glad to have all you guys on, and I'm super glad that, you know, hey, we got Jellyfish Guy, first time chatter, coming in right at the end. I'm super glad that you guys have all joined me here live. But if you missed out on anything, there is the link to my YouTube channel, Ace Maneuvers, where you can catch all the past broadcasts as I upload them. Thank you all one last time. Guys, the one thing I want to make sure that I impart on you before we leave is that the best part about this game is definitely traveling and playing. The best part about this game is being out there in the community. And, you know, I've not been super close to any of these three gentlemen, right, before we were at the events, before we were hanging out there. And, you know, make sure that you're staying involved, playing as many events as you can, you know, stay active in the community. This community will reward you for it more than any other card game community. So that's my sappy message. I hope you guys all had a great time. We will see you all next week on the next episode of the Orange Card, Blue Card podcast. Peace out, everyone.